to talk about what you're doing down here. This would be a story. You want to come to Greenville and do 5 minutes on our show?
Sure.
I can take care. I can do that. They haven't thrown me out. They still want me to come back.
Yeah, it's yeah. I got all kind of little gadgets I do. I'm a FAA licensed drone pilot.
Are you?
And I can fly it and hook it live and show things live. And
did you never have any desire 40 years ago to get into TV engineering or anything?
Well, I got into it in '86. And I got to go and do some things, got to interview like Loretta Lynn, Charlie Daniels, and Air Supply and stuff. And it was great, but timing just wasn't there.
Well, Xerox sounds like a good job.
Oh, it is. One, get ready to 3 seconds. Well, hello, I'm Jerry McKee, and who you're seeing right then, you're seeing Jack Roper. He is going to be coming to us in just a moment there. We're sitting on our porch right here. We got sun shining. That it was kind of nice and cool, but all of a sudden it warmed up a little bit. But you know what? Jack's the weatherman. I know he didn't have no rock stone at his house in his career.
Well, Jerry, I've learned as a meteorologist, never complain about the sunshine, because if you complain too hard, it might go out, and we got 8 minutes to pray before the whole thing shuts down. You know that? 8 minutes.
8 minutes?
That's it.
Wow, man. And Jack, you do a lot of different things. I was looking at a couple pictures, seeing like it. I knew you played in the band, but you're the drummer.
I'm the drummer, yeah. I'm, you know, it's funny because I thought, well, you know, I saw Ringo back in the 60s playing the drums. We all loved the Beatles in the 60s. And I thought, now that's the way to get a girlfriend. You know, being a drummer. And I've told the story ever since. It never helped me get a girlfriend, but anyway, I turned into a drummer in about 1964 or 65 and been playing for a long time. We have a band now about 18 years. So.
Now, you're actually from Union here.
Yeah.
And being from Union, your dad had a car lot.
Dad was Roper Chevrolet, and worked for him straight out of college. Went to Carolina, finished in '71, went to work for Dad and sold cars, did his advertising, and fell in love with promotion and stuff like that.
Well, the advertising was a little bit different back then, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. It was the Union Daily Times. They allowed me in the back door. I'd go in. I'd cut out pictures of cars, and they'd allow me in the back in the setup room, and I would lay out the ads that they would use in the newspaper.
So it wasn't like you had a computer back there, was it, back in them
computer?
days?
What was that?
Yeah, I know. We didn't know what that was.
In 72 or 71, we didn't have computers.
Yeah. Did you ever sell any cars for your dad, or was you just mostly doing the promotionals?
Well, I took lots of pictures of his cars, and one of my little gimmicks was to ask the Union High School cheerleaders to come down to the dealership and pose with new cars.
Wow.
And then we'd put those in the ads in the newspaper.
And that always gets a good attention, doesn't it?
Local. It speaks volumes with local people, local families. All cheerleaders have families.
That's right.
And pretty girls help sell anything.
That's true. And also you're getting the high school involved. That's really smart to do, because they have families and want cars.
Sure.
And my brother-in-law even worked with you down there.
Who was that?
Steve Lemons.
Yes, I remember that.
And because he was telling me, I used to work with Jack down there and stuff. Now, how did you really get into? I know you was doing promotion for your dad's store there, but how did you fall in love with entertainment?
Well, now, you got to remember, doing his advertising also included writing radio commercials.
Oh, okay.
And so it led to me actually going and recording the scripts I wrote and made radio spots. Thus, I fell in love with radio.
Well, that
was the next step.
I have to ask you this now. When you wrote these spots, it only took you one take, right?
No, I'm not one take Jack. It took many, but as long as you're recording, you can go back and do it till you get it right. So no, I'm not one take Jack.
Yeah, I know, because I myself, I had a radio station in Saltville, Virginia.
Yeah.
And it took people would just be surprised what 30 seconds it takes.
Well, you know, to this day, though, you can probably start a clock, and I won't look at my watch, and I can tell you when 30 seconds is up. Now, we had a term, Jerry, in radio, and again, of course, I worked locally with WBCU, which we're so proud. WBCU is celebrating 75 years on the air this year. That's a big deal, 1948 or 7. So I was 1 or 2 years old when they signed on, but again, Ed Osborne was my boss way back, and Bill Stribling, you know, some of those names, and anybody locally would know those folks. But anyway, I just fell in love with advertising and doing spots, and ultimately wound up doing weekend morning radio, and ultimately took over the sign-on show after Bill Stribling decided to segue into, I think, went into finance or something. But Bill Stribling was always my hero. He was wonderful.
Well, you know, some of the, actually, their formats is basically almost the same from years ago, because it works. People just love, I know myself, like the swap and shop. I mean, that is great. You don't hear that in some of the bigger cities or anything like that anymore. And someone calls in, and you might be your neighbor or something, you know, and it makes it more hometown, I think.
Well, and again, you know, Union has an AM, but because AM became kind of secondary after FM started bounding and becoming the main source of music and entertainment, then the AM stations got a little smaller FM sister station so they could broadcast, simulcast their product through two different sources, AM and FM. And that's what we have in Union County now.
Well, you know, I remember when the FM came out, and I thought, well, you know, that's never going to work. You know, we got all these AM stations, that's never going to work.
Yeah. Well, we used to call it elevator music.
Oh, yes.
In the 60s. Nothing gave me greater pleasure to be riding in the back seat of the car, maybe before I could drive, even at 15 or whatever, and listen to WSPA FM playing that beautiful music. You know, back then, that's what they played. They didn't play the hits. And they'd play a 40-piece orchestra playing a Beatles song. And, of course, my parents hated them. You know, I mean, I'm a baby boomer, and I'd nudge Daddy in the back seat, and I'd say, Daddy, guess who wrote that song? Who, son? The Beatles. And it's like a 40-piece orchestra, just the melody of a Beatles song. I used to love to nudge him a little bit and say, guess who wrote that pop?
Right.
You know?
Now, I put a little advertisement that you did. I actually put it on the advertisement that you was going to be on the show here, that you played a clown.
Well, I've had 2 kid shows. One was in eastern North Carolina. I dressed as a clown. Now get the parallel with the name of the station and the character's name. The TV station was, I believe, an NBC affiliate in Washington, North Carolina. That's the first station I got into from radio. This was like 81 or 2, and the call letters were WITN. So somewhere along the line they invented a clown character, and his name was, you ready? WITNEY, Whitney the Hobo.
Oh.
Now, I was not the first person to play that. I had that show for 4 or 5 years. Okay. But I dressed up, I think I saw it on your ad, in fact, me dressed in clown makeup and a hat and big ties. So I did that for 4 or 5 years. That was the first kid show I had.
Now, did it take you a long time to put that makeup on?
Boy, I'll never forget the morning I woke up and didn't have the white makeup.
Hold on just a second. Let's put our heads on.
Put your you got a caller?
Call from.
Should I put my headphones on?
Yes,
Press 1 to send a.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Joey, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Hold on a second here. Let me switch you over.
I can hear. Is that Chris, the radio station?
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
I'm still working a number here, Chris, but...
that's fine.
Oh, okay.
I'm just getting back into town and wanted to give you a call and say hello.
Oh, okay. Well, Jack...
I can hear you. Hey, Chris. Jack Roper.
Hey, Jack, how are you today, sir?
Hey, buddy. Yeah, fine. Happy anniversary, 75 years.
Yes, sir, on August 27th, 75 years. And
wow.
I've been there for, let's see, about 21 of them, and
Yeah.
I consider myself very fortunate to be part of the long-standing history of WBCU.
Well, yeah, 75 years. I think I was 1 year old when it signed on then. But no.
So you worked there from age 3 to 4?
No, not quite. I did go to college and come back. Chris, I used to work there from like 72 to maybe 76.
Yes, sir.
And I invited another friend of yours, Bill James, Dr. Bill James, who actually worked there in high school. And I was going to tell you, since I've got you coming into my ears here, Bill and I want to come down and get a picture standing with you in front of the marquee, and I'll send it to my folks at Your Carolina, the show I just semi-retired from, and we want to put it on our TV station and congratulate you publicly, okay, on your years of excellence in broadcasting.
Well, Dr. James has my contact information. You guys just give me a call and we'll make it happen one day.
He's got your number. I spoke to him today, so we're planning a trip down with your permission and time approved by you to get a group shot with you in front of BCU, and I'll take it back and put it on Channel 7.
Well, we can schedule something. We can have you on there, and be glad to have you. Like I said, let's get a long history. I know Dr. James, he decided to come back in the near future to talk about the new hospital, and
Yeah.
we're ready to do that as well. So.
Well, he has told me how supportive you and the station are. The new medical center, which is being finished next year right up the road. And we encourage people to make some donations. I've given them a little check, not much, but it's going to take a whole lot more than I gave them. But we're all chipping in.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, it's a great thing to have the new medical center coming to Union. It's going to be great for healthcare for the county as a whole. And, we try to support as much as we can locally, because that's one thing about that radio station. If it were just about playing music, it would probably have closed down 50 years ago. But the fact that station is so involved in the community and community events and trying to get out local news and information, that's what makes it unique, and it's what a radio station should be. There just aren't many more of them around that actually do it the way we do. Now, whether we do it wrong or right, yet to be determined, but we screw up on a daily basis, but we keep trying.
Well, you do a good job. You sound good, and I miss being there. I've often said, again, I'm semi-retired from Channel 7, a little talk show I had in the mornings, but I'm going back to work Monday, actually, doing some magic, and I'm sending in pictures every day, and that's why I want a picture to send in with you, Bill, and me. But what I'm saying is being involved in the community, that's the key.
Absolutely, yes, sir. And I was taught that from Mr. Art Sutton when I started working there.
Yeah.
And I've tried to continue that, and it was, before he got there, that station was the same way. So I've tried to continue. One of those things where if it's not broken, you don't change it,
Right.
So, like I said, I'm very fortunate to be a part of this history. I'm very fortunate to have the great staff that we have there that make my life a lot easier.
Well, we'll get down to see you soon. Bill and I will be there soon. We'll let you know, and of course get permission what time and what day to come.
Yes, sir. Well, I look forward to it. Jerry, thank you for letting me call in tonight, and if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know, okay, sir?
I sure will. Thank you very much, Chris.
See you, Chris.
Yes, sir. You'll have a great. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sure is nice sitting on the back porch.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Now, who's this guy right here? And you can see in the monitor there on the corner.
That was me at BCU.
Yeah, man, I tell you what,
early 70s.
Young man there.
I don't know why I was dressed up. That looked abnormal at the time, but that was early 70s. I don't know, maybe I was headed to Rotary Club or something.
Well, you was, I didn't know if that was your uniform or what there.
Ed Osborne, of course, co-owned it with his partner, and I don't know why I had a coat on. That's abnormal. On radio, you don't even have to comb your hair when you go work in the mornings because nobody sees you, but I've got another picture somewhere in there. I think you've got it too, but
yeah,
I'm just glad to have photographs of back when I was there. It was a good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
and there you go.
There you are, right there. Is your hair looks a little different, right?
What does that mean? Is it better now or worse?
Well, I think
don't answer that.
It looks better.
Don't answer that.
It looks better.
I think I still have that same shirt.
Yeah. But that, but you know, we all change. But you know, you look the same.
About the same.
You look the same. Everybody recognize you.
Well,
about everywhere you go. I know.
hope so. I hope so.
And now, when now you went from radio to TV.
Yeah.
And how did that transpire? Because you know, usually I don't see too many DJs going from that to into broadcasting itself, as far as TV.
But you got to remember, this was 40 years ago. This was early to mid '80s, and I was in radio. I was in Eastern North Carolina. Used to sign on a little. We used to call them daytime stations. Anyway, and I was asked. I don't know how I got. I'll tell you how I got into TV. I was asked to do a commercial for a car dealer. A TV commercial for a Ford car dealer.
Well, I hope it wasn't competition there.
Well, no, that was 300 miles away from my daddy's Chevrolet dealership. But I made a crazy commercial, and it was funny, and people remembered it, and somehow I got my foot in the door of a local NBC affiliate in east of Raleigh. It's not as big a TV market. But then that led to me being asked to come on, believe it or not, the first TV talk show I ever went on was at another station in that market in Greenville, North Carolina. And yes, there is a Greenville, North Carolina.
I've been there, I know.
Yeah. Well, now this is the little trivia. In the upstate of South Carolina, we have Greenville, South Carolina, 30 miles from Williamston, South Carolina. In eastern North Carolina, we have Greenville, North Carolina, 30 miles from Williamston, North Carolina. Little trivia for you there. But I was asked on a talk show in the, I guess, early 80s to do magic. I've been a magician since I was 10 or 11 years old. I've done that I've done magic longer than I've done anything. So I showed up on their talk show with magic tricks and would entertain on that little talk show. And that's how I kind of got into like talk radio.
Hi there, it's Pat Glenn.
Hey, Pat.
Oh, hey, Pat.
Voicemail, press 2.
I know Pat.
Come on, man.
Can you hear us, Pat?
Yes, sir.
Hold on a second. We're gonna go to our. Now, can you hear us good?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Pat.
Hello, my hero.
Yeah, right. Well, Pat, you know, Jared, Pat's the reason I'm here.
Pat's what?
Pat Gwynn,
Easy now.
former employee of WBCU, a few years after I was there. He's my old next door neighbor growing up. But Pat, of course, is syndicated all over the world, it seems like, with great radio still. But Pat said, call you.
Yes.
And to talk about coming on your show. So you can thank Pat. If I'm doing a good job, thank Pat.
Well, I already thanked him. I said, well, I appreciate you getting me in contact with Jack. And he says, well, I've known him for a good while. And I said, well, of course, Pat Quinn knows everybody. He's being syndicated
he's all
around
over
the world.
Yeah. Pat, you spinning the wax to the max, are you?
Well, the biggest thing was that Jack saw me shave for the first time. I was a kid when I knew Jack, way back in the day.
Yeah. There you go.
Man, it's been a long time. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Just getting older. Quit shaving since I semi-retired, as you can see.
Well, congratulations. But your hair isn't falling out. It's still pretty.
I still got hair. Yeah.
True story.
I'm lucky. I'm blessed. But how are you? Your pictures look good. I've
good.
seen you, and we've talked on the phone. You still playing them records?
Still playing the old 45s, the 78s, and everything else. You know, you just got to find a player that will play them.
Well, isn't that true? Isn't that true? Why not tell us?
Yes,
I want to share your success. How can people find you, a local boy, on a radio station near them? Tell us about what you're doing.
Well, I got to let me back up a little bit. One of the key things that I want to tell everyone that's listening tonight, I would never, ever be in radio if it weren't for Jack Roper.
Really?
Jack Roper was one of the sweetest and most genuine people I ever met in my life. When I was growing up in that small town of Union, Jack was very kind. He and Mary and their family allowed me to come to their home. I remember this time that I came to your house one day. You were recording commercials on a little cassette player in your home.
Yeah, reel to
And
reel,
you
reel to
started
reel.
Reel
Yeah.
to reel.
Reel to reel.
And early one Saturday morning, I came by the radio station, and Jack was like, God, let me open the door for him. And I come in the back door, and Jack is running a Carolina football game. And Jack Roper said, Pat, when Bob Fulton said, this is the South Carolina Radio Network, you press this button. Jack was in the other room, Studio B, doing commercials. And he allowed me to work the board, unbeknownst to Ed Osborne or anyone else. And that's how I learned to run the radio station and run the board while he was doing commercials while I was running football for the South Carolina Radio Network.
And
If
you
it
fell
weren't
in
for
love
Jack
with
Roper,
it.
I would never, ever have gotten into radio.
Well, I didn't know. I
all
don't
your
remember
fault.
that. I don't remember that, but I'm glad I had a role in a successful radio person's career. Thank you for that mention.
Well, Pat,
It's all your fault, Jack.
was you nervous? Was you nervous about pushing that button?
No, sir. We had the old, you remember old Gene Anderson and, Ruth Coles was there.
Yeah, yeah.
Gene Riley, Ed Osborne, and man, those were the days. Back in the day when adults ran the town. It was pretty awesome.
That's we're going to hear a motorcycle going down the road here, out in the country, but
I thought that was Pat down at Myrtle Beach, but that's a Buffalo cyclist.
that's it.
Pretty
Yeah.
close. My granddaughter's on her little 3-speed bicycle here.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Well, Pat, tell us where we can hear you.
Well, you can hear me on the iHeart Radio Network, and we're on WBCU every Sunday, either at 1 if the Braves aren't playing, or at 6 when the Braves are through.
Yeah.
We're on 200 stations around the country, London, New England, New Zealand, all around the world. And, it's been a lot of fun. We've done a beach music show. We're doing a soul vault show. We're doing a golden hour, which features the iconic hits of the 70s and 80s when I was in high school.
Right.
Let's see. We just started an inspirational show on Sundays that will be on about 60 to 70 stations very soon. It is nationally and internationally sponsored by George Magazine that was started by John F. Kennedy Jr.
Sure.
So that starts out in a few weeks. And, I do truly owe my success to Jack Roper. And I've always loved you. You've been a friend to me and my family for 116 years now. And
116. Now, Jack, wait a minute.
Than Jack Roper.
I lied. I'm 116. Thanks, Pat, for giving my secret away. But we love you too,
I love
buddy.
you,
I'm
Mom.
real proud of what you're doing. Keep it up.
Well, I'm proud of you as well. Congratulations, and God bless you, Mary, and Jeff, and the rest of the family.
Thank you, man.
Love you, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Pat, have a great day.
Pat's down. I figured that was auto traffic in Myrtle Beach, where Pat lives.
Yeah,
But
well,
that's outside your
Yeah, this kid's having
Porch.
he has a great time. He goes all day long. I was hoping he ran out of gas a couple of times, but
Yeah.
but it's kind of funny. You got to take him off right now.
Oh, I
Until
guess
somebody
you
else
can't.
calls in.
Until somebody calls. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only way they can hear us
Yeah.
good and hear them.
Sun's
good.
going down.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for putting. We had to make do. We take a blanket and hang it on behind you so I can look at you. The sun's coming right over your head, so at least I can see you.
Right, and I don't have to keep changing the camera. Also,
Yeah.
as far as the
Well, it's getting cooler out here.
it feels good out here.
Yeah.
Lights is not hot. We don't have these hot lights now, like we used to.
Now tell me about this show. We're live and in
Yes.
living color.
In living color.
And where else can people see this show as we speak? Because I'm real interested in how you do this.
As we speak, they can see us on 3 different pages on Facebook at one time.
Okay.
Live. They can see us on YouTube.
Yeah.
They can see us on Kick, Twitch TV,
Twitch.
and Twitter, and Instagram.
We're
at one
live and broadcasting bigger than life and twice as sassy on about 4 or 5 different places.
Exactly. Yes.
Son
I
of
think
a
it's around
gun.
8 altogether.
Golly.
And then tomorrow it'll be on 4 more. It'll be on Amazon Music. It'll be on Apple Podcast and YouTube Podcast. And there's another one in there I'm forgetting about. There's about 4 of those audio. That way when they're driving down the road, they can put on a favorite podcast and listen to it.
Well, I'm impressed at your ability to do this.
Yeah, well, it's
I just
it's
show
fun.
up. I
It's
just show
fun.
up when you call. That's all I do.
Yeah, well, that's a
just
great
don't.
thing. I've had people not show up.
Have you?
Yes, last minute.
When it's
something come up.
live, yeah.
But and you know yourself, anything can happen live.
Well, it's the best kind of TV because you mess up, people catch you forgetful. I mean, you know, having to read lines of script over products. Of course, the standing joke in radio was, you know, you couldn't see us.
Right.
So what we would do in the early, Pat knows this, what we would do in the early days of radio, we'd find somebody that was, again, no cameras, reading a script. You know, maybe the obituaries.
Uh-huh.
We had those. We used to do that. And then go in there with a lighter and light his script on fire. And see what happens.
Oh, that's cruel.
But nobody knows what we're doing. It just
Right.
gets a laugh. It's just silly, childish pranks
Right.
behind the mic.
Now, live on TV, you've never.
We don't do that on TV.
Well, I know, but you've never messed up live on TV. or
I've
anything,
never
right?
messed up at all.
No, it's
No.
My thing is that I pronounce some people's names,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm horrible with that. And
Well,
I try
I've done that.
beforehand. I try to just keep on.
Well, you're going to do it, and that's why sometimes on this talk show we would have, well, there are a few pranks I would play when we would have women, especially because they have maiden names,
Uh-huh.
you know, and get married. They will keep the maiden name, and it's very English for women as well. You know, you could be Sally Smith Jones and put a hyphen. You know, you could be Sally Smith Jones. And I'll look at those women that have the 3 names, and I'll say, by the way, we only allow 2 names. Standing joke, and I don't mean it, of course. And the other one is, I love it, right before we go on the air, I would say, by the way, don't let it bother you that tens of thousands of people are watching every move you're making.
Oh man, that
Gets their attention.
that gets in her head.
Well, they know I'm a kidder, I think.
Right.
I've been around long enough, I think people know I'm just...
Yeah, but you know, it
Do
really
stuff
because I've did some interviews and I've did some campaign ads.
Yeah.
And you think that they're used to talking out like that, but it seems like a camera intimidates and really
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
freezes them up.
Well, you know where you really get worried is all the magic tricks we've done for the last 4 or 5 years. We did them every Monday, and by the way, I'm starting that back next Monday. I'll go in Monday and do a magic trick or two on the show, Your Carolina, Channel 7. Hope you watch.
Oh yeah.
You know, but live magic doesn't always work. You can screw them up.
Oh, I bet so.
We used to tape them. That way they were always right.
Oh yes.
You wouldn't drop something, or anyway, live magic does not always work.
So the pressure's on you then.
Yeah, and I've had enough screw-ups, so it happens.
Well, Jack, I'm going to go back to something you said many years ago when you was a weatherman.
Yeah.
That's always stuck in my mind.
Uh-oh.
And that's why
Can you repeat it?
I can repeat it.
Okay.
And matter of fact, I've already repeated it tonight.
Okay.
Because when I asked you about, you ever got rocks thrown at you, but you was telling the weather, and I think you predicted the snow coming in, and it didn't come in, and you told the kids, look, I don't have no control of that right there, so don't throw no rocks at my house.
Yeah. Well, only God knows the weather, but it's funny. I have a line that I use when I entertain, and I want to get this message out too. I love to go to churches and do my magic.
Right.
I never charge them. You know, if you have a church and have a group of seniors, during the week, call me. I'll eat your food, and I'll do a magic trick or two, and
Work for food.
no charge. Well, that's it. You know, I'm not going to go to Raleigh, but I'm saying in this immediate area, I'll
Right.
show up and entertain you for 30 minutes and break bread with you. But one of the lines I use when I do a trick sometimes, and it always gets a laugh, I'll do a trick and I'll look at the person standing next to me and I'll say, "Have I ever lied to you?" And then I catch myself mid-statement and say, oh, that's right, I used to be the weatherman. Anyway, it always gets a laugh because
Well, you know,
they claim we lie.
You even
us
go out to
weathermen.
festivals and do this, like this picture right here we're showing now.
Well, yeah, that's
That you look
Central, I think. Yeah, I was doing a magic show there.
it
Yeah.
seemed like you've got a little bag right there carrying. Is that your magic bag?
I carry the old bag with me, and I don't. Yeah, that's a joke there. But anyway, and I don't mean my wife. That's just an old bag, and it's got all the tricks in it. But yeah, festivals actually pay me. Those aren't the freebies.
Well, that's good because you got a lot of people out there in front of you.
It's fun. Well,
And now you, how did you? What made you get into magic? I mean, I know you did when you was little, but what was fascination of it, and that you kept
that
on?
is well, you know, I've got a theory. I was an only child, which I hated. Mom and Daddy couldn't help it, but I was an only child, and I didn't like it. It's very lonely to me, and I'm not telling you about your
Right.
life, but it's lonely, and you always sought friends to have over on the weekends. You always thrived on any attention because you were all by yourself. Now, I got a lot of attention at home, but it wasn't always good attention. Only children get bad and good attention. But anyway, being an only child and having a friend across the street that was a magician, and my daddy had a friend, Bruce Fowler, I don't know if you know that name. He was a magician, a grown man that my dad knew. Anyway, I had some influences, but I found that doing a magic trick, people seemed to like to be amazed, and you saw some approval out of people
Yeah.
watching you. Like, if you did a good job, they might applaud, they might smile, they might laugh at a joke. So to me, that was confirming me as a child. So it just became part of what I did.
Well, I kind of like watching magic. I watch Ben and Teller, you know, where they try
All
to
of
fool
them.
them.
Yeah.
But I never had the interest of finding out what the trick did.
Well, that's why you never do a trick but once.
It takes the magic away, I believe.
Well, don't most people like to be fooled, see something mysterious a
Yeah.
little bit? I mean, I thought everybody liked to be kind of amazed at something, and knowing, of course, full well it's not magic. I've been known to do a trick and look at them and say, "What do you think it is, magic?" In other words, there ain't no such thing.
Right.
But most people kind of like to be mystified.
Now, not only do you do magic, you have a band.
Have a rock and roll band, yeah, and it started with Tom Crabtree. Well, that's the current band. We have 5 guys, and we're all gray-headed folks. And let me brag about 2 or 3 of those guys. 3 of those guys behind me, the bass player, the guy with the cap, he's rhythm guitar, he writes music, and then my keyboardist, that is Pickle Leaves from down in Whitmire, Mandel Leaves. The tall guy's from Forest City, that's Rich McBrayer. And then you go to Ronnie right next to him with the hat. He's from around, Union, really. Jonesville is Andre, the last guy. He's from Jonesville. And there's me on the drums, and we've got a 5-piece band. This band's been together for maybe 18 years, and yeah, we play at festivals. We play, a lot of it is like that 60s, 70s stuff
Oh, yeah,
that I
the good
started
music.
playing. Yeah, I thought. That we started playing in radio, and some of it you can classify as beach music. And we're going to be in the Chesney Labor Day Festival coming up Labor Day Monday.
Wow.
And
That's coming up
we
pretty quick.
don't look for the main audience at 9 o'clock at night. We don't care. We just want to come play.
Exactly.
We charge, of course, but it's not a lot. And we have a good time.
But
And,
it's fun doing it.
well, I mean, I've done it a long time.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that
how
all
long you-
started with Crabtree. Crabtree, remember Crabtree
Yes,
retired? Tom
yes.
Crabtree and our friends still are. And, well, I've been at 39 years. And about 35 years ago, I looked at Crabtree and I said, "Don't you play something?" He said, "I play guitar." I said, "Well, I'm a drummer. Why don't we start a band?" So that was the first band we started, Crabtree and I, with different people. And it lasted maybe 15 years or so, and then we kind of went different ways, and I started a band, and he kept his original band, Rock and Roll Reunion, and Tom's still out doing stuff with them. So
I think I've seen a picture of him recently.
Yeah, he's a
with the
good
band
singer,
there.
guitar player. So we're friends, and we just kind of went different ways with it and found new people. But I was going to mention 3 of the guys in my band. You ready for this? They backed up and toured with Otis Redding
Wow.
and Billy Joe Royal,
Wow.
sitting on the dock of the bay. 3 of those boys. One's from Jonesville, one's from Whitmire, and one's from Ronnie. Let's see what Ronnie is actually from. I want to say Shelby or somewhere. Anyway, but they actually toured with big name people. They were opening act for Jay and the Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard, of course, the big tall guy from Fort City. We love him. He's kind of our lead singer right now. But we play again Labor Day Monday in Chesney, and we've got some
okay.
other festivals coming up.
Well,
We don't look for big towns. We like to stick right around here.
Well, it's it makes you feel more at home.
Well, they're home
And-
folks,
and-
and they kind of know us, you
Right.
know. So, but they dance some, and again, it's beach. So
Yeah.
A lot of it's beach music.
Well,
rhythm and
it's a
blues.
lot of talent that WSPA's had there, like Kathy Lee. She, not Kathy Lee.
Kathy, well, I know you. Hold on, we'll get it out.
Yeah, we'll get it out here in a minute.
Well, Jane Roblo was with us once.
Right.
Jane's quite talented. She's now at Channel 4, of course. Kathy, I want to say Gifford, that's not it. Oh, golly, a little girl from Greenwood, she was with us. Who else?
Diane Lee.
Diane Lee.
Yes.
What a singer she is. You don't know that probably.
Oh, I do.
Do you
I
know
do.
Diane Lee?
I happened to find. I was videoing a Christmas downtown, the Dickens of a Christmas downtown Spartanburg
Beautiful
several
singer.
years ago,
Yeah.
and she was up there singing. I thought, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know she
Well,
sings.
it's funny, the people that are in TV, they seem to have other things they do. I can remember watching LOS, ABC in Asheville,
Mm-hmm.
and we had Bill, God, what was his name? Had a kid show up there too. And he flew hot air balloons and played the accordion. Bill, what
Wow.
was his last name? That was 60s, 70s. But you find a lot of people on TV that just do other things too.
Right, because we get in that mindset that we see on TV. That's all they do. They
Yeah.
just do that little 20-minute program and they go home.
Yeah.
Doesn't work now with like your Carolina like that when over the years. That's people had the same thing about radio guys, DJs. They do a few hours, they go home, they got it made.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of stuff that you have to do in the background.
Well, kind of have to prep for it. Have something to talk about.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well,
You study up a little bit before you go on.
especially if you have guests and stuff. You got.
Oh, well, you kind of read up on them before they get there.
Did you get to eat some of the food
Some of it. Yeah.
that they brought in?
Yeah. People bring a lot of foods, and of course, this is people don't know this, but there's a strict rule in TV or radio that you can't take merchandise as an on-air person in return for putting someone on TV.
Oh,
That would be like payola,
right.
like when they used to pay disc jockeys to play a record.
Oh,
Highly
okay.
illegal. You don't do it. So, it's like somebody can come up to us and say, would you put me and my business on and we'll give you a product? No, you can't do that. So we always kind of wonder when people bring on food and, we're not swapping airtime for food, but
Right.
you go, well, should I take this plate of food from you? But as long as there's not a tie-in between giving them something and getting something, that's highly illegal in broadcasting,
Right.
TV. And
Well,
radio.
you have to, especially in food. Like if you're bringing some people on, like to
Oh, we get a lot of
taste tests
cookies
and
and
stuff
stuff.
like that.
Oh, yeah.
I know that used to have Ingles on there sometimes, and bring food and they cook, but they're a sponsor anyway. But showing the chef. Or,
Yeah.
And I know it's a thin line where you have to watch because it's like politicians; they can't just
No.
take stuff either.
No.
And all.
How
So
they-
I can see the ethics of it.
Yeah, you can't do that. It's wrong.
Yeah.
In fact, when I booked the band, I remember over the years, I would call somebody and, try to, our band will love to play, and this is what we charge. We do 2 hours.
Right.
You provide the PA. I need a cover over the stage for so much money. And then I might say, and by the way, you've been coming on the show to plug this event for the past few years. I said, now let me explain something to you. If you hire my band, it has nothing to do with you coming on to promote the festival. See, they
Right.
always get that sermon from me. See,
Well, I can see that.
You don't have to hire me to come on the show and plug the event. That's how you're overly conscious and overly ethical when you get in a situation like that. Don't let them ever get confused.
Yeah.
You could get in deep trouble over that.
Now, where have all the stations that you've either DJ'd or you was at as a broadcaster in?
Where were they?
Yes,
BCU, I left here and went to Marion, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful little town. I was there for about 3 years. Loved it. Marion, North Carolina. It's 45 minutes north of Chesney. That tells you anything of Highway 221.
I know exactly where Marion is.
Marion, North Carolina. We loved it.
I've been there several times.
And a friend of mine in the insurance business came to me and says, I have a friend that owns a radio station in eastern North Carolina, and they're looking for a general manager. Well, I wasn't overly excited about it because I was happy in Marion. But this is strictly, radio.
Right.
But I got on a little tree hopper airline and flew to Kinston and looked at the radio station, and Mary went with me, and I was determined, well, I'm not eager to go, but if it'll advance the career,
Right.
It was a general manager's job for a little tiny radio station. It was in Windsor, North Carolina, Williamston, Wilson, 2 hours east of Raleigh.
Right.
Tobacco,
Tobacco field.
This was late 70s, whatever. And so I said, well, if they want me, just tell them I want what I'm making now and what my wife is making now, and I play golf, so I want you to pay the country club dues so I can play golf. And they gave it to me, so I had to leave.
Oh, wow.
So I went to Williamston, North Carolina, and got into radio. Stayed in radio after Marion, because they gave me what I asked for. I didn't know, I just threw it out. So we moved, and then I segued into TV and did both radio and TV, and ultimately was the main weather guy on WITN in Washington, North Carolina, and finally had to give up radio. I couldn't do everything. And then I had my kids show, first kids show. I left for a year to go to San Antonio as a weatherman. San Antonio is a little different. I liked it. Could have stayed there the rest of my life. But it just wasn't to be, and got wind of, I'll tell you the story. Ed Osborne, you remember Ed, who co-owned WBCU, who was my old boss, called my daddy, Big Jack. He was Jack Roper too. He said, Jack, is your boy, is he happy? They're looking for a weatherman at WSPA. This was 1981 or 2, or no, this was maybe 83 or 4. Well, I was trying to get out of San Antonio. I was trying to find a new gig. And Ed Osborne called my dad, and my dad called me in a hotel room. I was in Denver interviewing for a weather gig in Denver, and they had offered me a job in a Denver TV station as a weatherman. And this is funny. And he wanted to take me out for supper. Well, I had a wife and 3 children with me. And my wife thought it was terribly rude not to feed my job interviewee supper with 3 children and a wife. So she was not happy about that. As well she should have been. It was rude. Anyway, we wound up not taking that job, not strictly because of that. I just didn't like the situation. But I flew. We went back to San Antonio. I was one of the final 4 for Good Morning America, because the guy was leaving Good Morning America. The black gentleman, I think, Christensen, anyway, back in the 80s. And I was one of the final 4 for that gig. And I flew to New York. Well, and again, same time, everything happens at one time. The phone rings, they want to interview me at WSPA. And I went, well, I've just interviewed at ABC. Can you give me 2 or 3 days to see if I can get this job on national TV? Well, I don't think they believed me. It wasn't a come on. It was just, I was just telling them, can I have a day or 2? Listen, telling Channel 7.
Right.
Because we flew up here for the interview, but I had to go to New York, so I came back. So we're in transit trying to figure out what to do, because I wanted to get out of San Antonio. And ABC didn't hire me. And so I took SPA. That was 39 years ago.
Yeah. Well, here's picture here you sent too. That who are these folks there with you?
Well, that was another high point of my life. We had a successful kids show at Channel 7 in the 90s. That is a little lady called Truck Stop Granny, and my clown friend Jocko the Clown, and there's Tall, Dark, and Homely in the middle. That's me. We had a kids show called Kid Sizzle. We did 156 kids shows. At least I didn't have to dress up like a clown for this one.
Really, that's a lot of makeup putting on every day.
Well, that was back in North Carolina.
Right.
And we came and did this for like maybe 4 or 5 years, did 156 shows. And that ended about 2000. But that was a high point of my life. And that little lady on the left, that's Truck Stop Granny, Haven Clark. Let me tell you about her. She was an entertainer at a place called Silver Dollar City. She's from Spartanburg. Do you know what Silver Dollar City became?
What's that?
Dollywood.
Oh, wow.
Well, the wigs she wore, the first one was given to her by Dolly Parton.
Wow.
Truck Stop Granny, she's a comedian. She was a comedian, played guitar, wrote music. I have a 45 record that she wrote. She's a published musician. But I just fell in love with this old gal. She was much older than me, and she had dark hair, but maybe 20 years older than me. But she would travel with me on Saturdays, and we'd do magic shows. Jocko was on the show, and it was a good time in the 90s. So. I've done about 8 years of kid shows.
I bet that was fun.
It was fun, and what we would do, this is the cutest part, she'd travel with me on Saturdays. She'd even babysit one of our kids. She became a member of the family. I met her in Spartanburg at a yard sale, my yard sale. Met this lady. I said, "You want to be on a kid show?" So I took her under my wing, and then we found Jocko, and what's so interesting is I'd do the magic tricks, and she'd just stand beside me. She never did a whole lot. She slapped me with her pocketbook. Of course, you can't slap anybody with anything now. But in the 90s, I'd make some fun of them, and she slapped me with a pocketbook. But at the end of the magic show, I'd pull out my banjo and play a little ditty on my banjo, and she'd dance, okay? And at the end of the little tune, she'd flip around in this kind of semi-long dress and flip up her skirt in the back.
Right.
And wore bloomers. I guess you call them.
Right,
You know, she didn't show anything. She had bloomers.
Right.
She'd flip up her skirt, and on the back of her bloomers it said, "Bye now." That's the way we'd end the show. The bloomer said, "Bye now," as I ended the banjo tune. We had a great time.
Oh, but
We do that every weekend.
Now, York Carolina, what brought that concept on?
Well, we had a general manager who he came to me back when they made some changes. I was weatherman for 22 years, and they made some changes, and I became the number 2 guy after they hired somebody else. And he said, "I got a plan for you." He said, "We're going to start a talk show." He said, we've tested an audience. You know, they'll gather people in a conference room and show tapes and say, "Would you watch this with this man on it?" So I tested well with a test audience.
Right.
"Would you watch Jack Roper do a talk show?" And it seemed to work, so they gave me a talk show. That's how that started.
Wow.
That was 18 years ago.
Yeah. I didn't even know they even done that. I
Yeah.
know they got the audience.
I don't, some of this stuff is kind of questionable as far as is it really needed, but
Yeah.
they test audiences.
Well, I know I've been in a couple mock trials where they've hired me to come in and 12 others
Yeah.
to sit down and
Well, it's the same thing.
and to get the results of it.
Right.
And that was pretty neat. I mean, I spent a couple hours and got some pay pretty good just doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, human nature is not always predictable, but I've had a good time.
Yeah.
And again, I'd still be working full time had it not been for Interstate 85. I live in Spartanburg.
Right, and that's...
And at 76 years of age, I know I look much younger, of course, but at 76, I thought, I can't do this every morning anymore after 39 years. I have to drive to Greenville every morning.
Yeah, well,
It's just absolutely, I just said, no, I can't do this.
During the rush hour.
Oh, yeah, 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So that pretty much suggested to me, maybe it's time to kind of semi-hang it up.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've been on that year. you have a wide variety. Now, in the show, I know you got cameras all around you and different things. That you have a producer there that directs you in different things. Is correct? Tell a little bit about that, because most people just think everything flows there, but you got people in the background. Because sometimes I hear them, you know. And of course, me doing this, I know that you have different people doing that.
Well, the producer actually talks to us on an earpiece, and she is in Spartanburg, talking to us in Greenville.
Oh, wow.
Giving us cues, like when the camera is on, it's on, you know, cue, or whatever she said. We have a rundown. We know what guest is coming on, how long we have for the guest. We may have a little tag at the end saying, stay tuned, coming up, we're going to visit the kitchen with so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Some little scripted thing we have to read.
Does it come across a teleprompter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the guests are pretty much ad-lib. Now, when you got lawyers and doctors, you have kind of a sheet of questions they want to be asked.
Right.
You know, but hopefully you come across kind of natural. But we have some guidelines with certain guests. But you know, when you have musicians on and chefs and stuff, you know, you can kind of yak, have a good time with it.
Right, and you know, of course, like you said, you've done this so long that you can say how long, what time it is within. You know.
I've just done so many. Well, and Jerry, you know the term rip and read is what we used to call it in radio. We'd sell an advertising to somebody on Main Street in Union at VCU, and it was for the Smith's Drugs or whatever. And we'd just go get the newspaper ad for Smith's Drugs, and I'd just stand there and hold it in front of a microphone and look at the clock and just ad-lib the commercial for 30 seconds with products I read from the newspaper. We used to call that rip and read.
Wow.
Now, they weren't all that casual.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but that's the way sometimes you did it.
Well, then you start adding like music in the background and things like that.
Yeah. And I used to love to we had music beds. You know, they had music that wasn't owned by artists. You know, the companies would make music beds for 60 seconds or 30 seconds.
Right.
And what I used to love to do, and these are on tape somewhere, I could probably dig them out. I'd love to hear them again. I would sing a ditty with the music and then record it and then sing again to the record and have myself sing a duet. Does that make any sense at all?
On different tracks.
Make 2 tracks of me singing to a music bed.
Right.
And ultimately put them all together, and it's like me singing with me, some little ditty that had something to do with the product.
Oh.
It was fun. It was very creative. And you know, in many ways, to be perfectly honest with you, radio is a heck of a lot more creative than television.
Yeah.
You can get everything done by yourself on radio.
Yeah.
TV takes a lot of people.
Well, I don't know.
Well, except back porch newscast with Jerry McKee.
Yeah. And I used to, and you talk about yourself singing for yourself and crossing over the things like it. I've done that some with video, and where I put myself, 2 of me on the couch here and 1 in the chair, and talking to myself and like this, and playing different clothes on each one, and playing the characters of it.
Yeah. Well, you can do a lot.
Yeah.
But see, you have that ability to know how to do both, 2 or 3 things. But see, in TV, you've got a director, you've got a producer, you've got someone for audio. You may have 4 people behind the scenes of the people on air, okay? You're waiting on cues, you're waiting on tapes to start, you know, to talk to. And when things run long, as a weatherman, they'd say, okay, you've been cut 30 seconds. Okay, you know. So in other words, you're in someone else's hands in TV a lot more than in radio.
Right.
You had records, you knew how long the records were. You could ad-lib commercials. You just had more control over you and your surroundings in radio more so than in TV.
Yeah, because if you had
it's hard to make that transition to TV.
Yeah, I know that little station I was up like that. I had to go to the bathroom. I find me a long playing record and put on there.
I know.
And run out.
Well, that's why they invented. You remember K-Tel records?
Oh yeah.
They put hit after hit after hit about 30 minutes on each side, that's when you went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It just tracked for 30 minutes.
Now, we used to get those albums in of Dick Clark's show.
Yeah.
And we had
American Top 40.
And I'd love to have those, but we had to destroy those after we.
Oh, did you?
After the show, though, we had to destroy them.
We had Casey Kasem,
Yep.
American Top 40, wasn't it?
Right.
And those were on LPs originally.
Yeah.
That was back in, 80s, I guess. Radio was a lot of fun. I miss it.
Yeah. You had to queue up
I really do. Oh,
next record on the two turntables.
Yeah. Do about a 45 degree. You had to do it about 45 degrees and then release it, spin it. Of course, the more you queued up a record, the more it would scratch the intro. And we had that sound. Remember, we used to call it cue burn?
Right.
You find the beginning with your finger of the record and you back it around 45 degrees. Well, 100 and whatever, 3/4 of a turntable.
Right.
And then turn it loose and talk up to when it started. But the more you did it, you snap, crackle, pop at the beginning of every one of those albums.
Well,
45.
To me, albums was coming back, or some of them still are, but they were ridiculously expensive. Back then, you could get one for $1.25.
Well, 45s were less than $1, and I remember LPs were like $2.95 or $3.95. But isn't it funny how they got away from vinyl, invented CDs and junk, and now we've gone back to vinyl?
Yes.
It's like, well, what was wrong with it in the first place? What were you thinking?
Yeah. I don't think they go back to 8-tracks, though.
No.
They didn't last too long, did they?
No, I don't think those are coming back.
But
LPs did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dragging on and stuff. Well, Jack, we're getting down to our last of our show here.
They're going to cut us off in 4 or 5 minutes.
We're at the top of the hour. Well, we usually go about 1 hour.
Well, I'll hush.
And I really appreciate you coming on and talking about all these things here. It's 75 years for WBCU and your career, some changes in life and things, but you still doing the same thing, still going wide open. And
Same old song and dance.
That's it.
May I do one last thing?
Sure.
Because I want churches to call on me.
Right.
Those are my favorite magic show venues. No charge. Here's my email. Here's my new email. magicjackroper@gmail.com. Write me, call me. I'm in the book. Love to come to your church.
Did you have a little magic trick for us?
Yeah, you want to see one real fast?
Yes.
Let me show you. I brought 2 presents. See my presents? Now, obviously, they're different shapes, aren't they?
They are.
Different sizes.
Yeah.
But with a little magic, I'm wondering, can I take the top of this box and put it on this box and the top of that box and put it on that box? Doesn't seem right, does it?
Don't seem like you can do that.
It looks almost impossible. But if you do the magic word, which is, oh, thank heaven, for TV7, try it.
Oh, thank heaven for TV7.
Watch carefully. Let's see if we can do a little magic. You ready? I mean, visually, it doesn't seem to be possible, but, with the magic of that special magic word, I can do exactly what I just said.
Well, you sure did.
That's called an optical illusion. It doesn't look like it's possible.
Yeah.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah, you're thinking one's longer than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you, buddy.
Jack, we appreciate it. We really do. And I'm Jerry McKee, and thank you for watching Prime Time with Jerry McKee. And next week, we're going to have T. Graham Brown. If you go back to some of your old school music, as a matter of fact, he's still singing and playing at the Grand Ole Opry. And we're going to have him on the show. And then after that, we're going to have a good guy coming up. And he sings for the Oak Ridge Boys. And if you ever heard that bass singer, well, that's Robert Staban. He's going to be on the show also coming up in the next couple weeks. So I'm Jerry McKee, and thank you for watching. And give us a call. Give Jack a call. Send him an email address if you want him in your church or a function you're having. Let him do some magic, and he'll tell a joke or two. God bless, and have a great day.